Today we are going to learn chapter 8 in business studies, and that is controlling. In this session, we would be covering the topics like meaning of controlling, importance and limitations of controlling, and the relationship between planning and controlling. Now, first, let's understand the meaning of controlling. Now, before we get into this, I would like to just give you an example. Let's say there is an XYZ company which is into supplying of goods and services to the consumers or the end consumers. And there has always been delays in transferring the parcel. You can say the courier services. There has always been a delay. There is no proper check on as to why there has been delay at the various, different regions. Now, because of this situation, because of improper services, or you can say because of, lack of timely services, many clients or many consumers are shifting to the different service providers. Now, this is a loss to XYZ company. What is the reason? The reason is there is no proper controlling. No proper controlling as to why there has been a delay. So it is the duty of the manager to control each and every activity or operation of the organization. So we can say that controlling means ensuring that activities in an organization are performed as per the plan. And it is a function of a manager to look after all the activities, whether they are running smoothly or not. So we can say that controlling is a pervasive function. So it is a primary function of every manager to supervise, to control all the activities, all the operations which are allocated to different employees. Controlling should not be misunderstood as the last function of management, because it is a function that brings back the management cycle back to the planning function. Because how far your actual performance deviates from the standard, it is observed at controlling stage. It analyzes the causes of such deviation, that if your actual performance is not matching with the standard performance, why is it so? So controlling analyzes the cause of such deviation, and they try to make the attempt to take the corrective action on the basis of that analysis. So we can say that controlling only completes one cycle of management process, and it improves planning in the next cycle. Now, why this controlling is important? Firstly, it helps you to accomplish the organizational goals. Now, controlling function, it obviously measures the progress towards the goal of the organization. And it helps you to bring back to the track if there are any deviations. Like, let's say, for example, if manager had set the standard performance and the work was allocated, now it is the duty of the manager to continuously monitor and control to see that the performance is going as per the standard. And if there are any deviations, manager can take the corrective measures. So all these things would help to accomplish the goal of the organization. Secondly, controlling is important because it helps in judging the accuracy of standards. Any organization who has a very good control system, it helps the company to check or to keep a check on the standards which are already set. So an efficient control system keeps a careful check on the changes which are taking place in the organization. Like, let's say, for example, if you are the boss of your company and you had assigned certain tasks to your subordinates, it is your duty to keep a continuous check whether all those tasks and operations are performed according to the standard which is set. If there are any deviations, this corrective measures can be taken if the manager is monitoring continuously. So if he asks the employee or subordinate to take the corrective measures before the task is deviated or before any loss or wastage, then these corrective measures would help to reduce the cost of production. So it also helps you to judge the accuracy of the standard. Nextly, making efficient use of resources. As I just now explained you, that if you have a proper check or you monitor regularly, if you control properly, before there are any deviation, if you take the corrective measures, then it will help you to reduce the wastage or spoilage of any resources. So each activity is performed in accordance with the standard norms which are set by the organization. Now, another importance of controlling is that it helps to motivate the employee. See, when a company has a very good control system, it ensures the employee very much in advance as to what they are expected to do. Like, let's say, for example, if you give a clear instruction to your subordinate that what is expected out of him, he becomes clear with his job profile, he becomes clear with the workload which he has to perform. And it would be, better for him to achieve that standard performance on the basis of, the appraisal which he's going to get. So it helps the employee to get motivated, improve his performance because he's given clear instruction as to what is expected out of him, what he is supposed to do. It also helps you to ensure order and discipline in the organization. We can say that any organization without discipline or without order cannot have smooth functioning. So controlling creates an atmosphere of order and discipline in the organization because each task is assigned and each task is monitored by the superior. So it helps to minimize the dishonest behavior on the part of employee because he knows that he's always under the check or he's always under the control. Another benefit is that it facilitates coordination, which means controlling provides direction to all the activities. As I had mentioned, that all the activities are allocated to the employee on the basis of their skill and ability and experience and knowledge. So controlling provides direction to all the activities which are to be performed and efforts for achieving the goal of the company. Now, each department and employee is governed by these predetermined standards because every employee is given the set standard, or we can say predetermined standard as to what is expected out of him. So in every organization, all the departments will have to coordinate with each other. Like, let's say, for example, if there are 5 departments, let's say HR department, finance, production, purchasing, marketing, R&D, that is research and development. So every department will have to coordinate with each other in order to accomplish the goal of the organization. Now let's see what are the limitations or disadvantages of controlling. Firstly, it is very much difficult in setting quantitative standards. See, control system loses some of its effectiveness when the standard cannot be defined in quantitative terms, because there are certain activities, there are certain operations in an organization which cannot be set in quantitative terms. So this makes the measurement of performance and their comparison with the standard task very difficult. So sometimes it becomes difficult to measure the performance with the standard performance. The second limitation is that little control on the external factors. See, a manager can to an extent control all the internal factors that is within the organization. But what about the external factors like changes in the government policy, technological changes, competition, political environment? So there is no when it comes to controlling. Another limitation of controlling is resistance from employee. Many often it happens that employee resists control. They don't like to be controlled all the time because they feel and they take controlling as a restriction on their freedom. Like, let's say, for example, if a subordinate knows that he's being controlled or monitored continuously through CCTV and he has to work full time under that CCTV camera, and every time there is a check on him as to what activity he's performing. So this control is often resisted by the employee because they feel that there is a restriction on their freedom. So sometimes it may also demotivate the employee to work. Another disadvantage is that costly affair. Controlling, of course, involves a lot of expenditure, time, and effort. So the enterprise, which are very small or medium firms, they cannot afford to install such expensive control systems. So you cannot justify, or it cannot be justified as to the expenses which you are incurring along with the profit. Because when you are investing something into an organization, there has to be a return. So manager must ensure that cost of installing and operating any controlling system in any department, it should not exceed the benefits which are derived from it. Now let's understand the relation between planning and controlling. Planning and controlling are inseparable. When we talk about as functions of management, we can say that they are interrelated. Because when you plan, it becomes mandatory to control those activities. So a system of control presupposes the existence of certain standards, and these standards of performance serve as a basis for controlling. Like let's say, for example, if planning was made that we have to reach the target or the sales target by, having more sales than the last year by 50,000. We have to sell more 50,000 units this year. Now, this sales target can be accomplished, or this planning can be accomplished only when there is proper controlling. So, once a plan becomes operational, controlling is necessary to monitor the progress and measure it with the standard and the actual. So, planning without controlling is meaningless. Similarly, controlling is blind without planning because when there is no plan, there is no need for controlling. So, both are interdependent, both are related to each other. An intellectual process because when you plan, you think. It's a mental exercise. So, planning involves thinking, articulation, analysis to discover and describe an appropriate course of action which has to be taken and implemented so that the objective of the organization could be achieved. Whereas controlling, on the other hand, it keeps a check whether the decisions which were taken have been translated into the action or not. So plan is thus prescriptive, whereas controlling is evaluative. So plans are prepared for future and are based on the forecast, because we have learned in the chapter planning as to we plan for the future action so that we can achieve the objective. And so we can say that plans are prepared for future and they are based on forecast about the future conditions. So therefore, planning involves looking ahead and is called forward-looking function. And controlling is again pervasive because it is required. Controlling is required and it exists at every function or every stage of planning and implementation. Now, on the contrary, controlling is like a postmortem of past activities. Like whatever you have performed, that is being controlled, it is being measured, it is being compared with the performance, with the, that is your actual performance is measured with the set standard performance. Now, in that sense, controlling is backward looking function. However, it should be understood that planning is guided by past experience, and that is how you plan on the basis of previous experiences and take the corrective measures. So planning and controlling are, you can say that, both backward as well as forward looking functions, because controlling just does not stop with the past. Controlling takes place even to take the preventive course of action in the future. Thus, planning and controlling, as I said, they are interrelated and in fact reinforce each other in the sense that planning is based on the fact makes controlling easier and effective. And controlling helps to improve the future planning by taking the corrective measures or by providing the information from the past experience. In the next session, we are going to learn the steps of controlling process. Thank you very much.